Very warm welcome to Army Shakil 5858. I am Ahmed Shackle. Following are the latest news headlines which have been reported by American, European, Canadian, Asian, African, and Australian news channels and all other news agencies. So please, let's go to the news.
Tonight, stunning new details and images in that deadly plane crash. Rock icon Billy Joel revealing a rare health scare and a severe weather threat as millions take off for the long holiday weekend. First, the new images tonight. Home surveillance video captures the final moments before that terrifying plane crash hit heavy fog. Just moments ago, the NTSB said two systems at the airport, the weather alert system and the runway lights, were not working. 6 people are presumed dead. What we're learning tonight about the victims, Trevor Ault is back on the scene in San Diego. Tonight, the major health crisis forcing rock legend Billy Joel to cancel his summer tour. Joel took this fall back in February, and the icon is saying tonight about his rare diagnosis and returning to the stage. Also tonight, President Trump ramps up his tariff battle, threatening the European Union with a 50% tariff just days from now. The president frustrated over stalled talks with the EU and why he's now specifically targeting Apple with a 25% tariff. Mary Bruce is at the White House. Severe storms take aim with millions on the move for Memorial Day weekend. A rare nor'easter disrupting record holiday travel. Lee Goldberg is standing by with the forecast. Tonight, new reporting in horrific murders outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. A young couple days away from an engagement, shot in the back. One of the victims shot again, trying to crawl away. What we're now learning about the alleged gunman. Authorities on heightened alert across the nation. The showdown between President Trump and Harvard. A federal judge blocks the White House from banning the school from enrolling international students. The verdict tonight in the Kim Kardashian robbery trial, her gripping testimony saying she thought she was going to die. What she's saying tonight. The rescue at sea, the cruise ship, and who they pulled from the water. And America Strong tonight, the emotional moment in the courtroom, the chief judge swearing in the new attorney following his father's footsteps.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David.
Ukrainian President Zelensky, hundreds of prisoners have been released today in an exchange with Russia. President Trump hopeful the swap could set the table for, quote, something big in terms of a potential ceasefire. Let's bring in Mike Sorelli now, retired Navy SEAL and host of Unsung Arlington on Fox Nation. Really looking forward to that. We'll play a bit of that in just a moment. But first to this news, are you hopeful that there could be something close here?
I'll say it's positive and significant in that it's the largest exchange to date, but it's a tactical step, not a strategic breakthrough. Instead, look at World War I. 4 years of brutal trench warfare in which millions were killed, but between 1917 and 1918, it took over 30 attempts through back-channel diplomacy to get something to stick. So, we've got to level realism or expectations with realistic outcomes. I'll say this. Peace talks are never linear. They're painful, they're slow. They often break down as much as they build up, but wars truly end when one side or both sides are exhausted. And there's more to gain through diplomacy than continued combat. And I don't think Russia's quite there yet. But God bless that President Trump's in the seat to handle this. He's done more in his first 100 days than the previous administration in which these two wars broke out. So he will get there. I just don't think it's going to be in the timely manner that American citizens think it's going to be.
Mike, thank you for that. Meanwhile, looking forward to Unsung Arlington, the Unsung of Arlington. This is your Fox Nation special. I want to play a clip of it because it is incredible. Watch.
After 20 years of service, there's nothing more important to me than honoring the legacy of our nation's fallen heroes. Arlington isn't just rows of white headstones. It's America's most sacred promise made visible.
The sight before us is that of a strong and good nation that stands in silence and remembers those who were loved and who in return loved their countrymen enough to die for them.
I have chills, and for those of us who have been blessed to have visited Arlington, you know that you can't quite prepare yourself for the way you feel when you are standing among all those heroes and all those stories.
You literally just took my line. I was going to say I have chills as well watching that. I think you just had Vice President Vance talking about Memorial Day at the Naval Academy. It's not a celebration. I often say that Memorial Day is a headstone. When you go to visit a loved one at a graveyard, you're in silence.
Tonight's storm set to disrupt the record holiday travel rush. The summer travel crush kicks off a major test for America's airports, especially in Newark, after the FAA reduced flights. Plus, when's the best time to hit the road? And the severe weather in the forecast this weekend. President Trump's new tariff threat demanding Apple start making iPhones in the U.S. Will it impact the price you pay? And the moment his own iPhone started ringing in the Oval Office. Another escape from a Louisiana jail, an inmate facing homicide and other charges, making a run for it after scaling a fence, and the new arrests after last week's jailbreak. The action taken against 18 Army instructors after soldiers fired weapons in front of a crowd at a beach. A verdict in the Kim Kardashian jewelry heist trial in Paris, and the heartbreaking news we received about the husband of our Today Show colleague, Chanel Jones, after his brave fight against cancer.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois. John Dickerson is off tonight. Just when it appeared that tariff tensions were easing, President Trump reignited his trade war today. He threatened a 50% tax on all goods sent to the United States from the European Union, one of America's top trading partners. The president also threatened to impose a tariff of at least 25% on iPhones not made in the U.S. The news upset more than the Apple cart. All three major stock indexes were down today. Apple is the nation's third largest company. At least 80% of iPhones are made in China. The company has been exploring the possibility of expanding production in India, which apparently stirred the president's ire. We have both fronts of the trade war covered for you. Elizabeth Palmer is in London with European reaction. Nancy Cordes at the White House has the first bite of the apple. Good evening, Nancy.
Good evening, Maurice. President Trump has long argued that his tariffs are meant to help U.S. businesses, but today he admitted that those businesses are sometimes paying the price, and yet he is now vowing to hit Apple and, by extension, its customers with a hefty new tax.
Trump's threat came, as many of his do, in the form of an early morning online post. He said if Apple doesn't start making iPhones in the U.S., he'll hit them with a 25% tariff starting this summer. Do you have the power to tariff one single company?
It would be more. It would be also Samsung and anybody that makes that product. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair.
It's unclear what exactly set Trump off. Apple. On this Friday night, Canada Post workers on job action. The disruptions to the struggling postal service despite avoiding a full-blown strike for now.
That'll be something that will not be delivered.
As negotiations between both sides remain stalled. The alleged mishandling of billions in federal funding meant for Indigenous companies. The latest calls for change in a global news investigation. Plus, Trump's crackdown on elite universities, the fears pushing American scholars into Canada.
I am terrified that the U.S. is headed to civil war.
As Harvard's international students become the latest targets. And for the lovers and the dreamers.
Stay connected to your dreams, no matter how big.
The graduation message from the world's most beloved frog.
Reporting tonight.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The prospect of another mass Canada Post shutdown has been avoided for now, but stalled labor negotiations have sparked the first round of job action from the union representing some 55,000 postal workers. The Crown Corporation is warning of service delays for millions of Canadians as both sides seem stuck at an impasse in the months-long negotiations. Heidi Petracek has our top story tonight on what this could mean for you.
This Nova Scotia publisher was waiting to see what would happen Friday before sending out its mail.
We actually have a big stack of royalties right now that we've been kind of waiting to send because we haven't known.
That stack will go out now, but it's uncertain what will happen next in the long-standing dispute.
Anytime it's looming, of course, it's stressful.
The country's 55,000 postal workers are still on the job, but their union has told them don't do overtime. Legal job action meant to apply pressure without a walkout after brief talks Thursday night failed. Canada Post says that could mean mail delays, and this union representative says some routes simply can't be completed without the extra hours.
That'll be something that will not be.
Good evening, I'm Amna Nawaz.
And I'm Jeff Bennett. On the NewsHour tonight,
Harvard sues after the Trump administration bans the university from enrolling international students.
Cryptocurrency investors spend millions for a seat at the table with the president. The private dinner that's fueling concerns about Mr. Trump profiting from the presidency.
And the former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine explains why she resigned.
The policy of the Trump administration was to put pressure on the victim Ukraine rather than on the aggressor Russia. And peace at any price is not peace, it's appeasement.
Democracy depends on a free press. Please support our independent journalism at democracynow.org/give. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In northern Gaza, more than 50 Palestinians were killed or are presumed dead following an Israeli airstrike that leveled a 4-story home in Jabalia. Civil defense workers described a horrific scene with rescue operations severely hampered due to a lack of heavy machinery. The attack came as Gaza officials said at least 29 children and seniors starved to death over the past 2 days amidst a worsening hunger crisis brought on by Israel's near-total blockade. On Thursday, there were chaotic scenes as crowds scrambled to receive the first freshly baked bread in weeks from a handful of bakeries in South and Central Gaza. Israel's army said it granted access Thursday to 107 humanitarian aid trucks carrying limited supplies of food, medical equipment, and pharmaceuticals. Aid groups say at least 500 aid trucks are needed every day for 2 months to alleviate Gaza's hunger crisis. This is UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric.
The shipment from yesterday is limited in quantity and nowhere near sufficient to meet the scale and scope of Gaza's 2.1 million.
Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam has condemned a series of Israeli attacks across southern Lebanon and the eastern Bekaa Valley. Israel's military said a drone strike killed a Hezbollah operative late Thursday, part of what Lebanese officials described as Israel's heaviest attack since reaching a ceasefire agreement with Hezbollah in November, which Israel has repeatedly violated. In Jerusalem, a member of the Arab-Jewish Habash Party was forcefully removed from the podium of Israel's Knesset Thursday as he condemned Israel's assault on Gaza. This is the lawmaker, Ayman Odeh.
After a year and a half of war in which you killed 19,000 children, 53,000 residents of Gaza, you destroyed all the universities and the hospitals, and for you there is no political win. You feel there is no political win. That's why you go crazy.
The Trump administration Thursday barred Harvard University from enrolling international students.
From Stockholm and on France 24 news programs.
Maurice, one of the 200 France 24 correspondents around the world.
Hello and welcome back to the France 24 newsroom here in Paris. Our headlines this Saturday. Hunger and desperation lead to insecurity in Gaza with over a dozen aid trucks looted. Aid is slowly trickling into the enclave after a nearly 3-month-long Israeli blockade. Donald Trump rekindles his trade war with the European Union, threatening 50% tariffs on imports starting in June. He's also warning Apple it could face a 25% tax on smartphones made outside the U.S. And a federal judge blocks the Trump administration's move to ban Harvard University from enrolling international students, the latest escalation in his standoff with the Ivy League school over what he claims is its woke liberal ideology.
Hello, it's 7 o'clock. Coming up on the show today, the head of the UN warns Israel has only authorised a teaspoon of aid into Gaza, where a flood of assistance is required.
And as a match worth millions of pounds, the Sheffield United and Sunderland go head-to-head at Wembley today for a place in the Premier League.
It's Saturday, 24th of May. Major hospitals in Gaza stop operations. We see evidence of severe malnutrition of infants facing treatment with dwindling resources. Here, the government's flagship child poverty strategy is reportedly delayed, a move that could impact tens of thousands of children. Civil rights activist Al Sharpton warns that Donald Trump is trying to reverse progress made ahead of the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's death.
It's like for an assault on of those that were killed and those that fought.
Critics
Joel cancels all upcoming concerts after being diagnosed with a rare brain condition. And in sport, England are on course for victory after enforcing the follow-on against Zimbabwe at Trowbridge. Hello, very good morning. Thanks for joining us here on The Breakfast Show. Our top...
Today, dozens rescued from floodwaters in New South Wales overnight. Authorities warn the danger isn't over.
The reality is the countryside will take some time to drain, and that means there is still risk.
United Nations chief pleads for urgent action as thousands of aid trucks remain held up at the Gaza border.
Palestinians in Gaza are enduring what may be the cruelest phase of this cruel conflict.
Queensland police widen their search for missing teenager Phoebe Bishop. Russia and Ukraine begin their largest prisoner swap, reuniting families on both sides of the border. Hello, welcome to ABC News. I'm Dan Warsha. Flood-affected residents on New South Wales' mid-north coast are being told to remain vigilant as water levels recede. Up to 700 millimetres of rain has fallen across the state over the past 5 days, with an estimated 10,000 properties affected. Thousands of people...
This is Asia Now.
Hello, it's 2 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 11:30 in New Delhi, 1 o'clock in Jakarta, and Angela at this hour. U.S. President ramping up his tariff campaign with plans to slap with 50% duties from the first and threatening a 35% levy on smartphones not made in America. A judge temporarily blocks the Trump administration from revoking Harvard's enrollment of foreign students. This as the university soars the federal government, rejecting Washington's bid to control the institution's governance and curriculum. And cleanup operations are underway in Australia after floods in New South Wales killed 5 people, destroying homes and leaving thousands stranded.
Africa News. The news.
White South Africans living in the quiet coastal town of Natikef dismissed US President Donald Trump's claim of a so-called white genocide in the country, calling his remarks uninformed, exaggerated, and dangerous. Trump made the controversial comments during a high-profile meeting with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa at the White House earlier this week.
Trump is crazy. He is saying all this stuff about white South African farmers getting killed. You know what he did? He showed pictures of random white people that are also not from South Africa.
I think there are definitely certain areas within South Africa that there are more targets, but in overall South Africa, I really don't think that we are the target at all.
Another Nordic resident acknowledged the presence of crime in the country, but denied it was racially motivated.
I think there's crime amongst all the people. So, of course, like, they get the more underprivileged people, and in those areas where there's not so much money, there's more crime. But amongst the black people, there's still crime. Also with the whites.
For residents of Nordic, the image presented by Trump is not only inaccurate, but potentially harmful for the country's ongoing efforts towards social cohesion and reconciliation.
In this part of the message, it's not alcohol that multiple use of bars, but bottles of juice. It's just one way publicity and trying to avoid being targeted. In the spate of recent attacks on business of alcohol, one of them was at the Caravan nightclub, where 3 others shot at the dead and others. This part is worried. After the assembly fell, bars stopped working. After about a month review, until it started running again, and people felt safe and went back to going out at night and working. But after the recent events in Carol One nightclub and other places, people got scared, so our customers are not going out at night or staying out. An uptick in attacks coupled with the government's refusal to issue alcohol licenses has this owner worried he'll have to close our shop. It's had to look for unique solutions to the problem. Another challenge we're facing at the moment is getting an alcohol license. Almost nowhere in Syria has an alcohol license at the moment. Maybe 2 or 3 places have licenses. The rest don't. We work in the alcohol business. Currently, we can't serve alcohol at all. Customers are now bringing their own alcohol, we serve them, we're open for them to come, and we
serving juice mixers, soft drinks, and water. Going out to party is now risky in Damascus. Some customers are mourning the freedoms they had before. We're very comfortable going out at night and going to bars, especially in touristy areas like this. We're carefree. We go out until 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning. We're happy. We're carefree. We went out with friends, men and women together. There was no difference. Right now, this isn't happening. We have to worry about everything. Britain-based War Monitor, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, has accused government and officials of being behind one of the attacks. Government officials have, though, condemned the incidents at nightclubs.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Have a good life. Bye-bye.